Thank you, Wendy. All right. The opening statements are 90 seconds. I'm the timekeeper with my trusty iPhone. When 90 seconds are up, I'll start walking toward you. If I reach you, please. I'll walk slowly. But in the order, again, you have 90 seconds. So the first is John Hatami. John?
Good evening. I wrote out a speech. However, thank you, Senator. I decided today I'm going to speak from my heart. When I came here about a month ago, I was in this same room, and I was told I wasn't allowed to speak. This flag right here, to me, it means something. It means freedom. My father lives in a country where he doesn't have that. So it didn't really make me feel that good. I've also found out that in this election, a lot of people are fighting one another. I'm not on any team, and nobody put me up to this. I'm doing this because I care about my city and I care about this ballot. I want to try to do some good stuff. So I want to share something with you that I found out 2 days ago. I found out my wife was pregnant. Well, I've never been a dad. And so it's really great for me, for my wife. I just want to try to do some good things for the city. I don't want to say bad things about Bob or about Laurie or about anybody else. And I don't want people snooping in my life because I found some people who are doing that. If you have something to ask me, ask me. I'm a deputy district attorney. I believe in integrity. Come and ask me. Thank you.
Next up, Mayor Laurie.
I'd like to thank you very much for hosting us tonight. My husband and I moved here almost 20 years ago with the hopes of raising our family in a safe community with excellent schools. We got involved with the things most young families get involved in: hard baseball, warrior football, Indian guides, vacation Bible school. But it was through my work in the PTA that I saw firsthand the impact and the value of community involvement. I served in many leadership positions in our PTAs, chaired 2 successful school lawn campaigns, and was appointed to the Parks Commission where I served for 5 years. When I decided to run for a seat on the City Council over 4 years ago, it was with the goal to continue to give back to the community that I love to ensure our quality of life. And boy, have I learned a lot in the last 4 years. I learned that politics are not for the faint of heart, that less government is good government, and that even if 99 people tell you you're happy, that they are happy, that one unhappy person still gets to me. I've learned that building consensus is key to getting things done, that it's okay to disagree, but that it can always be done respectfully, and that being on the City Council is still all about the thing that brought me here in the first place: community service. I'm honored to have served for the last 4 years on the Council, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished together. I've been endorsed by many people and organizations that mean a great deal to me, including Dr. McKeon, State Senator Tony Strickland, and Assemblyman Cameron Smythe. Thank you so much for having us.
Next up, TimBen, Boydston.
Thank you to the SCVRA for this forum this evening. I've been a Republican since I was 18 years old. Why? Because this is the party of Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, and Ronald Reagan. Because my parents thought there was nothing more important than individual responsibility. And during the Dust Bowl, my father left home and came to work in the fields of Oxnard and picked beans for $2 a day. And after serving my country when I didn't have a job when I got out, I didn't look for the government to take care of me. I went and worked as a busboy for many months, hard at work, to support myself, because I don't believe that the government owes you a certain standard of living. I believe you work hard, and I think I did that when I was in the council, and I listened to the people. Most important, I listened to the people, I did my homework, because this government of the people, by the people, and for the people needs to be just that. I have a plan. I want you to read it. This is not just a campaign brochure. This is a real plan, how to make Santa Clarita better. Thank you for listening. Please vote for me. May God bless you, and God bless the city of Santa Clarita.
Under time. Next up, Ed Colley.
Thank you all for coming this evening. 17 years ago, when Kathy and I made the decision to retire from active duty in the Air Force, we undertook a nationwide search for a new place to call home. Kathy expected we would probably move to Florida, where I was offered a job at Cape Canaveral, using my engineering education and experience as space systems engineer. Ultimately, though, we adopted Santa Clarita as our new home, and I made a radical change in choosing to be a high school teacher. From almost the first day we moved here, I was involved in helping to keep Santa Clarita the great place it is to live and raise a family. I'm involved in many different charities. 10 years ago, I was elected to the Castaic Lake Water Agency Board. More recently, Supervisor Antonovich has asked me to serve on the County of Los Angeles Commission on Disabilities. Kathy and I are proud to have taught our children the value of service as well. Alan has served 2 year-long deployments in the War on Terror. Carolyn is a disabled Air Force veteran. We lost Stephen shortly after we returned from Iraq. Melissa has joined me in teaching for the Hart District. Over the next 4 years, our city will face many important issues. We must continue to fight the megamine on every possible front. Traffic congestion continues. The unelected Regional Water Quality Control Board continues to insist on our meeting the demands of some in Ventura County that we reduce our discharge of chloride into the river. Drugs, including heroin, continue to be used by our young people. I've been active in seeking real solutions to these and other problems, and I intend to continue these efforts as a member of the City Council.
Something not least, Councilman Bartlett.
Y'all ain't gonna pick up. We're gonna talk fast. I want to acknowledge my wife. She's here with me. And I tell a lie. I've been a Republican for 67 years, but I had to wait till 21 to register as one. 65, I went into the Army, spent 2 years, found out I lost a guy that I knew in high school, a young man on the LAPD, and subsequently made the decision to become a Los Angeles police officer. That's why I got out of the military, and I spent 25 years with the LAPD. In the mid-'80s, I became involved with the Canyon Country Chamber of Commerce, which later merged with the Santa Clarita Chamber of Commerce. And I share that because I make an important aspect of my, if you will, credentials to work and serve in the city of Santa Clarita. Working through a number of charities and so on and so forth, I found myself as planning commissioner in '97, where I served for 3 years, and then was encouraged and was honored to be elected to the city council in 2000. Ladies and gentlemen, I know what's going on in the city of Santa Clarita. I worked hard for all of the citizens my entire 33 years in Santa Clarita. I am a conservative voice, a Republican voice here in Santa Clarita. I ask for your vote on April 5th.
All righty, we'll now go to the questions. John, I think you're first. We have 1 minute for this.
Can you stand up? Each candidate stand up for the speaker?
No, here you are. Got to do it when you said.
I know.
Okay?
I'm going to try and just know what to do.
So the question is, 1 minute, when did you join the Republican Party, and why did you join the party?
I haven't always been a Republican. First thing I'm going to tell you is I'm like Ronald Reagan. I have always been conservative. I've switched parties a few times. Been Democrat, also been independent. And a lot of that has to do with, a lot of times, this is my opinion, is that I've always felt that sometimes our party wasn't accepting of me, wasn't accepting of different nationalities and different races. So I have gone back and forth in different parties. My values have always been the same, and I consider myself a Reagan Republican, and so that's, I guess, the best way I can answer that. I've been a Democrat and I've been an independent.
Thank you, John. Board members, any questions?
My father says I've been a Republican since birth, but I know that doesn't count. So I've been a Republican since I registered to vote when I was 18. I have conservative ideals. I think primarily fiscally conservative, and take that very seriously as a member of the City Council, that the money that we oversee is not our money to spend, and it's your money. And so what we do, we have to do with that in mind.
When did you become a Republican?
I answered that question when I became a Republican at 18 years old. And why I became a Republican is because my parents, they trained me right.
I first registered to vote when I was in Germany, stationed with the Army in Germany the first time. The voting assistance officer came around and assisted us in registering. I registered as a Republican at that time. I am a Republican, I think, mostly because of my view of individual responsibility and the unintended consequences that we oftentimes get when the government interferes. I believe the Democrats oftentimes have some great view of how things ought to be, but when the government attempts to make that happen as opposed to families and communities and charities, it invariably, the unintended consequences are worse than the original evil that they intended to make right.
Well, by coincidence, I think I somewhat answered the question with my opening remarks. And I tell you the truth, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have a choice. I eat, live, and breathe being a Republican, and I want to sum it up this way. When I talk to school kids, I tell them this: listen up, young people. This country was made great because it was a land of opportunity, not a freeway.
Next question for John. If you're elected, what will you do if presented with an unfunded mandate from another government agency, whether it be a federal agency, State of California, or Los Angeles County? 60 seconds.
Not here. Read that one more time.
If you're elected.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
If you, that's it. If you're elected, how will you deal with an unfunded mandate from the federal government, the state government, or the Los Angeles government?
If the federal government or state government forces us to do something and it's unfunded, I'm going to try any way I can to get it done without asking the citizens to have to pay for it. I think there's a lot of different avenues you can go to try to make sure that that doesn't happen. One of my core values is not trying to incur taxes or increase taxes or costs upon the citizens. So I would probably work with different counties or different organizations, or go outside to other different cities and see what problems they had and ask how they solve those problems without first asking the citizens to pay for it. I think there's a lot of avenues you can go to first before you have to do that.
Good job. Laurie.
Unfunded mandates are an absolute nightmare for local government, for our schools. It's an enormous problem for us. The state government should leave us alone. And the federal government should do what they're supposed to do rather than dictating what we need to do. I know there are school board members here who can relate to what I'm talking about. We have plenty of unfunded mandates as a city. There are situations where we are owed money from the state and they're not being paid back. We work closely with our legislators. We are so fortunate to have Republican legislators in our community who fight for us and provide a voice for us. We need more of them in Sacramento and in Washington, and I think as a group that's probably should be our top goal.
Thank you. TimBen's next.
Unfunded mandates are a tragedy when it's a local government and they ask you to pay for something that's going to take money from the children or from schools or from other things in your city that need that money. And I say that you fight them. You fight them and fight them and fight them. By that I mean you fight them through the legislature. You go to Washington if you need to. You hire a lobbyist if you need to, and I'm not just saying this to make Hunt happy. Sometimes you need to hire a lawyer and sue them. And that's serious. Because sometimes the number is so high, it does not make sense to comply or not to comply right away until you're sure. The one thing you must never do is roll over and say, oh well, we just have to do it. Don't do it.
I mentioned in my opening a very, very important unfunded mandate that we are facing right now, and that is the chlorides from our wastewater. The folks in the Water Quality Control Board are trying to force us to do things which are truly irresponsible, unreasonable, and flat out truly stupid. And I've been involved in this for many years now. We've been fighting it. The Castaic Lake Water Agency helped in developing what is now called the Alternative Water Resources Management Plan. That plan was not good enough, and so I voted against it because reducing the stupidity from 500 million to 210 million is still stupid. So fight it for sure. Work with every legislator. I certainly do agree that lobbyists can help. There are many things we do, and I've been on the front lines of fighting unfunded mandates at the Castaic Lake Water Agency.
Bob Kellar.
Thank you. My definition of unfunded mandates from any level of government is another form and an example of irresponsible government. And we have to always fight the good fight. I feel one of our more effective tools, and I've certainly had an opportunity to work with them in Washington in times past in Sacramento, is the utilization of lobbyists. You've got to fight the battle. You've got to stand up for our citizens and do what's right. But I got to tell you, it takes partnerships, it takes people with know-how to utilize that experience and knowledge to win those battles whenever and however we can. Thank you.
I think everyone should give the candidates a round of applause so far. It's going to get tougher now. The third round are specific questions for each candidate, okay? So they're only for the candidate that they're being asked. So, John, you're first. In a recent forum, you said you had not yet looked into the historical preservation code that is being considered by the city. What is your position on it now?
My position is I'm against eminent domain. I'm for property rights, personal property rights, and the rights of homeowners' rights. And if big government wants to take over somebody's property or big government wants to take over a historical land, I'm against that.
Specifically on the ordinance, are you for it or against it?
I'm against it.
Thank you. Next up, Mayor Laurie. Why did you vote to raise the campaign contribution limit?
I felt that we needed to be more in line with some of the other local agencies, with all the other local agencies. It seemed a shame to have the city council relegated to a lower number. When we looked at other agencies and other cities, it was higher in those areas. I ran a campaign the first time that I think I mostly had $100 donations and less from friends of mine. I doubt that any of them would be $1,000 now. So I think grassroots campaign, you raise what you can from who you can. There certainly are people who will give more than that. I wanted just us to have the opportunity that other agencies do.
Thank you. TimBen, Boydston. The residents of the west side have voted down annexation to the city of Santa Clarita several times in recent elections. If you're on the city council, what would your position be on continuing to pursue it?
Annexation of the west side, there's a couple of components that are really important to know. Number one, it's up to the people that live on the west side. That's number one. Mr. Antonovich has had that stand the same for many years. I've talked to him about that and the reasons for that. And of course, it's those people's choice whether they wanted to be annexed into the city. That's number one. The second thing is, if we're going to annex, and there are a lot of good reasons to annex, because we don't want to have a fight like Palmdale and Lancaster where they're fighting over people who are merchants or whatnot and trying to take each other's taxes and things like that. So there's reasons for that, but you can't cherry pick. You can't go across the thing and say, we'll take that over there because it has a lot of tax, and this one over here is going to cost us some money. If you're going to take it, when the people want you to take it, you take the whole thing. You get the whole thing so you don't have little pockets of areas of high crime like we have sometimes, like at Jake's Way, and things out in the county, or places that need infrastructure like Castaic. We need to go in and fix all of that.
Thank you. Got questions longer than your answers, but I'll try. Ed, there have been instances in recent council meetings in which citizens were called names like, quote, developmental terrorists by sitting council members, and their comments or questions ignored by the council as they passed notes, and even had council members laughing while they made their comments. Do you think it's appropriate behavior for a council member, or will you denounce anyone who doesn't?
Boy, I've been elected to the Castaic Lake Water Agency now for 9 years. I can tell you that I have had many folks, citizens, come to the Castaic Lake Water Agency and want to have their concerns listened to, rate hikes and many other issues. We have our own, if you will, regulars that come to our meetings. I have always listened to everyone with respect. I think it's important that an elected official treat every member of the public. You have a right and indeed a responsibility to come and assist us, if you will, in serving your needs. And so I certainly would not, have never, and would not in the future do something as disrespectful as calling someone names that would come to speak before the city council or any other elected body.
Thank you. Bob, very timely question, considering what's been in the news. At what point do you think it makes sense for the city to look at having its own police department versus the current arrangement with the LA County Sheriff's Department?
Good question, and I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, our budget for the forthcoming year is slightly more than what it was last year. It's $20 million for the sheriff. It's the largest contract city for police services in LA County. It is estimated, and we've had some studies on this, that it would probably cost us another $15 million just to be even with the services that we presently enjoy with the LA County sheriffs. And therefore, I tell you, I am for working with the LA County sheriffs. Having been on the LAPD for 25 years, guys, I got to tell you, it is not an easy function for any community, any city, no matter how small or how large. So I really feel that we need to work with our existing law enforcement. I think they're doing, overall, I think they do an extraordinary job for us. If it was a revenue neutral, 20 million here, 20 million there, I'd have my own police department. But that is not what we have. Another 15 to 20 million on top of that, just to equal the services we have, guys. A lot of money. Thank you.
Not to confuse the candidates, this is round 2 of round 3. John, you go first again. In an opinion piece in the West Branch Beacon on November 27, 2011, you stated that, quote, I do not want to support Gestapo tactics for those who want to grab people or those who want to displace children from their parents, end quote. The question is, does that mean you oppose deporting illegal immigrants who are already in the country?
No. Immigration is a tough topic, to talk about, just because it really deals with federal law. That being said, if you're here illegally and you commit a crime and you get arrested, you should be deported. That's very easy to deal with. As a prosecutor, we do that all the time. However, do I support having the police department or any other entity going door to door to find people who are not here legally and grab them and put them in trucks and ship them over to whatever country that they're from? Absolutely not. First off, no one's going to do that. Second off, that would be horrible, and that would be inhumane. We need to follow the laws on the books. We need to secure the borders. We need to prosecute or punish the businesses who are hiring people illegally. But once you do those things, a lot will be cured. And if someone's here and they're arrested and they're here illegally and they commit a crime, they should be deported. Even if you don't have a license and you're pulled over, you should be deported, that you've broken the law. That's my stance on it.
Next up for Laurie Ender. Bob Kellar endorsed your candidacy in October 2011. Are you supporting or endorsing anyone else in this race? The question is, Bob Kellar endorsed your candidacy in October 2011. Are you supporting or endorsing anyone else in the race?
You know, Bob and I never made our engagement official. Sorry, Kathy. Yes. Bob and I had a conversation a while ago, and I do fully support Bob. I enjoy serving with him very much. I enjoy the fact, and probably Kathy can relate to this, that we don't always agree, and that's okay, but it's always with respect. His opinion means a lot to me. He's got experience that I don't have. We live in separate parts of town. We have separate groups of friends, and I think that we make a great combination. I've enjoyed working with him, and we've had nothing but a respectful relationship. So, yes, Bob.
Thank you. TimBen. I'm looking for it. Just a second. I haven't started counting.
Just make it. I do my own.
Okay, TimBen, given the current makeup of the city council, what dynamic do you think you would add?
The council meetings would go a little bit longer right now, because Bob Kellar will not be the only person who's listening to the people then. There'll be two of us listening to the people, and there'll be a lot of discussion of both sides of the issue, because now it goes really fast, because Bob will say something in protest, and will be there any more discussion? No. 4-1. 4-1. So I think that I would add a dynamic. In fact, I know I'll add a dynamic. But independence, thinking, listening to people, and creating more votes that take a little bit longer to take the vote. But in the end, I think the people will have their questions answered, and the citizens will know what local government is supposed to look like again. The reason that we formed the city of Santa Clarita, and that was to serve each and every one of you when you come down to the council and you have something to say to us. I will be listening along with Bob. Thank you.
We went over time, but that's okay. Only 10 seconds.
Hey, you bill by the hour.
Only 10 seconds. I didn't know that. Okay, Ed Colley, you are the only candidate in the race who has openly stated that you are running against a particular candidate, Bob Kellar. Will you tell us why?
Well, anyway, to do justice to that question, probably need a little bit more than a minute. I did, in fact, support Bob Kellar in his first run for city council in 2000. I was at his house most every night, worked hard, supported him, and I have supported him for years on the city council. I've made no secret of my distaste for some of the statements that Bob Kellar has said publicly, that whether or not he is indeed wanting to be a proud racist, I've never made a judgment on that, but I have made a judgment that I don't think it's an appropriate thing for our party to attach ourselves to that kind of rhetoric. It does bother me that anyone would consider me as a member of the Republican Party to be as such a person that would even consider myself to be proud of any racist term. Probably the other half of that question, and I'm not sure, I'm probably not going to run out of time, but I have asked some questions about Bob's ethical behavior as far as taking money and many thousands of dollars from a developer. I am concerned about that. Thank you.
All right, and to finish round 3, Bob Kellar, if you're given another 4-year term, what would you like to accomplish during those 4 years?
For opener, I'd like to accomplish all the things I haven't been able to accomplish yet. And the list is many. One of the things I think is really important right now, ladies and gentlemen, is that we get a lobbyist in the state of California. We used to have one. Frankly, I don't know that we needed that person that bad in the early 2000 period, but we do now. Because there's so much going on in Sacramento that needs our direct hands-on work. We need to work for the seniors big time. I want to continue my work with the veterans out here. We're on a good roll, but we got to enhance it. They're worthy of our efforts and what we can do for our veterans. There's a number of things out there. Continue to keep public safety at the top of the list. And it's a moving target, folks. Every day you wake up with a new challenge before you, so you have to stay flexible. You have to be ready to roll up your sleeves and address each of the important issues that come before you. With something always in mind, you're working for the citizens of Santa Clarita. Thank you.
Okay, round 4 is the last round. It's not a 15-rounder, so don't worry about it. And ladies, almost got in trouble there. Same order as before, but nice Wendy over there just agreed that we're going to go instead of 30 seconds closing, 60 seconds closing. I'm sure you guys want to say a few more words. So we'll start with John, then I'm just going to ask you to pass it on down. You know the order by now, if not, shoot the arrow. So John, 60 seconds close.
I'm going to tell you how it is, and I'm going to be honest. The most conservative person up here is Bob. I'm right behind him. That's hands down. Hands down. If you want to vote for 2 people to endorse, I'm going to say you vote for Bob and I. Hands down. I am the second most conservative person on this panel, and I'm going to fight, and I'm going to fight for you, and I'm going to fight for those conservative values. I'm younger, I am different, but I definitely will tell you this, I will fight for you. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity for us to come here. We were talking the other day about how many forums there are this year as compared to past years. And I hope this is a sign that people are taking more interest and more active involvement. I hope this means that more people are going to come out to the polls and vote. That's important. We need to be engaged and involved in our community. We need to get out there and get people to volunteer and to participate and to step up. And we can do it in a really positive, productive, constructive way. And I think by participating in forums, that's the way to go. So I thank you. I would love to have your support. I would love to have your vote and your endorsement. The most important thing to me that comes out of this is that we have 5 Republicans running for 2 seats. The remaining seats on the council, the 3 that are there, are also Republicans. So the Republican Party wins no matter what. That's great news. Thank you.
This is like my vacuum cleaner.
We need a cord list.
When I was put on the city council, much to the surprise of many people who were in the room, when it is not something that I started out seeking to do. Actually, I started out seeking to try to get Paul Strickland on the city council. And so, in a roundabout way, and thank you, Paul. And when I got there, before the council, Bob Kellar was the one who was the vote that put me into the seat. That was a wonderful thing, because Bob Kellar has been kind of a mentor as I watched him over the years, because he was not afraid to speak his mind. He was not afraid to be an individual. He was not afraid to live what our party is. And for that, I thank Bob. And I'm spending this moment to ask everyone in this room, please, 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 vote for Bob Kellar and tell all your friends too, because we cannot afford to lose him from the council. I would not want to be on the council at the expense of Bob Kellar. Thank you.
The comments were made here as to who's the furthest right up here. I think I'll put myself as far right as anybody on this panel. One of the things on the Castaic Lake Water Agency, one of the things that we have to do frequently is make decisions as it relates to developers and property rights. And I can tell you that in every case, when I'm looking at property rights, I think it's critical. And if you look at my votes on the Castaic Lake Water Agency as it relate to developers and things like the taxes they have paid, where others on that agency have said basically we'll account for those as zero, we won't account for them at all, and charge them a full share of future needs that they've already actually paid for. It's just not right. So I believe my credentials as a solid Republican are beyond reproach, and so I would certainly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, in closing, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you something. You've had 12 years to look at me as a city councilman. I can't tell you that I'm going to do anything any different. I have always been respectful and appreciative for the citizens of this community and committed to you. And I had one of the nicest honors yesterday morning at what we call City Hall East. That's Coco's, some of you may know. But I had some gentlemen ask me if they could meet with me yesterday morning, and I said, well, what would we like to do? And he said, well, we're all from the same church. We'd like to come and pray with you and pray for you as a leader. And I got to tell you, it's those sort of things that makes me want to serve another 4 years for the citizens of Santa Clarita, have such an honor bestowed upon me. I'm committed to you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. I ask for your vote upon me. And
Let's give all the candidates a round of applause.